see it within you. Fear, jealousy, betrayal. It is our duty to cleanse the universe of this weakness.
You know, they told me you people were conceited douchebags, but that isn't true at all.
Dude!
I'm using my wrong eye.
Does this movie feel like a very different film going into it, or is it just back with the group that is this family?
I mean, both. I mean, I think it was very comfortable stepping back into the space and being with these actors and being with these characters, and that was very natural. But I also wanted to create a movie that was very different from the first film, that didn't just take, this moment and say, okay, what's our, dance-off scene? Okay, what's our this scene? What's our that scene? I wanted to really make it its own movie.
Before you have to introduce these characters, and there is sort of a weirdness of bringing them in and setting everything up.
That's the best thing about this movie. The hardest thing about Guardians 1 was having to introduce all these characters that people were not familiar with and say, okay, here's a talking raccoon. This is why he talks, because 99.999% of the Earth did not know who Rocket was. This time around, I didn't have to do all that introduction. In general, I don't like, origin movies because it's two stories. It's like you tell the origin and then you get to whatever the story is. And it's kind of a mess. And I think that was true somewhat of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 because we had to introduce the characters very quickly and then get to the story. I tried to make it as organic as possible. But in this one, I got to jump right into the story, right into the dynamics of the drama between the characters. And I think that you're perfectly able to see this movie without having seen the first one, but certainly was a lot more fun to write.
The Watchers. How on earth did you get to use the Watchers?
Well, there's a misconception that Fox owns the Watchers, but they don't. It's a co-owned property. So yeah, that's all it is.
Now that we know that everyone's going off to Infinity War, is it sort of like having to share your toys?
It is in some ways, but luckily I've got a very strong relationship with Marvel, and I'm an executive producer, so I still get to make sure my toys are well taken care of while they're being played with by the Russo brothers.
Is it cool to have this sort of group of sort of a brain trust of Marvel to bounce ideas off of, and how often do you turn to it for things that are your own?
I'm pretty solo in my way of working. I'm not a guy I don't co-write, I don't do that sort of thing. I just kind of go into my hovel for a few months, come up with a story, come out with it and say, here's what I think it should be. And fortunately, especially this time around, Marvel was like, okay, go for it. And that's where it comes from.
Sometimes the thing you're searching for your whole life, it's right there by your side all along.
You're right.
All you do is yell at each other. You're not friends.
No, we're family. Except maybe her.